Hello, and welcome to Notes on History. I'm Paul Stetzel. Today, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to talk about something that every genealogist needs to watch out for when reviewing really any kind of document. When you contract with a professional genealogist, you'll notice that at some point in the process, that genealogist will ask you to tell them everything that you already know. It's not that the genealogist is trying to get you to do their job. It's so that you don't end up paying for the genealogist to go and research things that you already know. It's also so that the genealogist can go find the clues that they need to locate new information. So it's super, super important that you provide the information, even if it's details that you think aren't really all that important. I'm going to use two different examples. They're outlandish examples from the United States Census. These examples stick out like a sore thumb, so yes, I'm aware that they're not things that would trip up a real genealogist in a real situation. I just want to illustrate a point. In the 1900 census, you will find two entries for the same man, William McKinley. Here's the first example. We'll go up to the top of the screen here. You'll see this is in Canton Township in Stark County, Ohio. If I scroll all the way down, we'll find right here towards the bottom, William McKinley, a 57-year-old man living with his 52-year-old wife, Ida. They've been married 29 years. They had two children, but sadly both are deceased. Both are from Ohio, and his occupation, by the way, is of course President of the United States, which is exactly why you'll also find Mr. McKinley. If I go over here, 1900 U.S. Census, District of Columbia. You'll find right here at the very top, William McKinley, his wife Ida, 57 and 52 years old respectively. Okay. They are living at the President's Mansion. Now, there are three interesting things that stick out about this entry. First is that William McKinley's last name and his wife's maiden name are not spelled correctly. I understand that standardized spelling was not really a thing at the early stages of their lives, but you think by the time someone had been president for a few years, they would have standardized the spelling, yet here we are. The second is that William McKinley's occupation, unlike the entry from Ohio, his occupation is not given as President of the United States, it's given as lawyer, right here. The third thing that stands out is this column 25, owned or rented. There's an R here, indicating that the President was renting the White House. Now, the President does not pay anything to live at the White House, and to the best of my knowledge, presidents have never actually had to pay rent to live there, although they do have expenses that might surprise you. It would be interesting, I think, to know who it was that provided the census information to the enumerator for both of these entries for William McKinley. If someone watching this actually knows, I'd love to hear it. I'm just curious. Now, in 1920, we're going to skip ahead 20 years, but we're going to stay in Washington, D.C. for a second. Right over here, we find Warren G. Harding living at 231 Wyoming Ave. Now, this actually, I suspect, should be 2310 Wyoming Ave. You see the house numbers here, giving an indication that this is probably just missing a zero. If that's correct, if that it really should be 2310 Wyoming Ave, that would place it right near what is today the Embassy of Yemen. If someone watching is more familiar with Washington, D.C. geography than I am, please feel free to let me know. Again, curious. Here we see Warren G. Harding, head of a household, his wife Florence, and they also have an African-American servant named Inez McWhorter living with them. He's 54. Florence is 56. And if I scroll over here to the right, we see that his occupation is given as a publisher in the newspaper industry. We do know that that is correct because I hope everyone watching this has an idea of who this person is. But there they are. So we're going to also look at another entry for the same man. Again, a duplicate entry in the same census. Here's again the 1920 census If I scroll, or zoom rather in, this is in Marion Township in Marion, Ohio. Okay. And if I scroll down just a little bit, here's the Hardings again. Here's Warren G. Here's Florence. The information is basically the same, except we find that Florence here is 2 years older in Ohio than she is in Washington, D.C. Just word to the wise, living in Ohio does not actually cause you to age faster. No offense to Washington, D.C., but I would think it would be the other way around. And if I scroll over here, we see Senator of Ohio. That's it here. Before this year was over with, Warren G. Harding would be president-elect. Now, in these two examples, I clearly cheated. I knew who both these men were before I ever looked them up in the census. That's not the point. My point is that in both cases, both men had two residences, both men were recorded twice, once at each of their residences, and both men were recorded under two different occupations. Knowing that Warren G. Harding was a newspaper publisher before going into a political career, knowing that William McKinley was a lawyer before holding office, is exactly the kind of detail that a genealogist can use to identify duplicate records such as these. So when you contract with a genealogist to work on your family history, don't be surprised when they start asking for all sorts of details that you hadn't even thought about asking. These examples are sort of big deals. Two residences, two occupations, etc. But little details matter too. Very few things are too minor to dispense with. If you liked this video, please be sure to like Notes on History on Facebook. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel or leave family-friendly comments below. Of course, please be sure to visit notesonhistory.org, where you can find information on contracting Notes on History to assist you with your family research project. Thanks for listening.